In the year 2187, the starship Vanguard embarked on a deep space mission to explore a newly discovered planet named Xylora, located in a distant star system. The crew, led by Captain Alex Mercer, was a mix of seasoned spacefarers and enthusiastic scientists, all eager for the potential discoveries and the possibility of encountering intelligent life. As the Vanguard approached Xylora, the crew detected signs of an advanced civilization. Energy readings and communication signals suggested the presence of intelligent life. The atmosphere on the ship was electric with anticipation as they prepared for what could be humanity's first contact with an alien species. Upon landing, they were greeted by the Xylorans, a species that appeared peaceful and technologically advanced. Their cities were marvels of engineering, seamlessly integrated with the natural environment. The Xylorans themselves were tall and slender, with iridescent skin that shimmered in the light. They communicated using a complex language of sounds and gestures, but thanks to advanced translation technology, initial conversations were smooth. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the ship's xenobiologist, was fascinated by the Xylorans' biology and culture. "It's incredible," she said to Captain Mercer. "They've achieved so much without the need for conflict or competition. Their society is entirely cooperative." Captain Mercer nodded, though he couldn't shake a nagging feeling. "It's impressive, yes, but we need to stay cautious. We still know very little about them." As the humans and Xylorans continued to exchange knowledge, they discovered stark differences in philosophy and survival instincts. The Xylorans had no concept of predation or warfare. They lived in perfect harmony with their environment and each other. This peaceful existence both fascinated and disturbed the human crew. One evening, as a small scouting party was exploring the outskirts of the Xyloran city, they failed to report back. Panic spread through the Vanguard. "What happened to them?" Lieutenant Hayes asked, anxiety clear in his voice. "We need to find them," Captain Mercer said, his tone firm. "Dr. Rodriguez, you and a team will come with me. We'll get to the bottom of this." The search led them to a secluded area where they found the missing crew members. They were unharmed but shaken, recounting an eerie experience where they felt watched and manipulated by an unseen force. "This place isn't as idyllic as it seems," said Corporal Jameson, one of the missing scouts. "There's something they're not telling us." Captain Mercer's suspicions grew. The Xylorans, while outwardly peaceful, might have a hidden side, one that could be far more complex and potentially dangerous than they initially believed. The humans would need to navigate this new world carefully, balancing their curiosity with caution as they delved deeper into the mysteries of Xylora. "Stay alert," Captain Mercer instructed his crew. "We're only just beginning to understand what we're dealing with here." As the humans and Xylorans continued their cultural exchange, a complex picture of the Xyloran society began to emerge. Initial impressions of a harmonious, peaceful civilization gave way to a deeper understanding that the Xylorans' peace was maintained through a delicate balance of control and subtle influence over their environment and other species. Captain Mercer, ever cautious, convened a meeting with his senior officers and scientists. "We've been here long enough to understand that things aren't as straightforward as they seem," he began. "I need all of you to be vigilant and report anything unusual." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the ship's xenobiologist, had been working closely with Xyloran biologists. "Their technology is far beyond ours in many ways," she said, "but it's their approach to life that fascinates me the most. They have no predators here, no concept of killing for survival. It's almost utopian." "But that's what worries me," interjected Lieutenant Hayes. "How do they maintain such a society? What happens when there's a threat?" Their questions were soon answered in an unexpected way. While the humans were visiting a Xyloran research facility, they stumbled upon a hidden laboratory. Inside, they found evidence of experiments and containment areas for various alien species. It became clear that the Xylorans dealt with potential threats through capture and manipulation, rather than direct conflict. "We need to report this back to Earth," said Dr. Rodriguez. "This changes everything we thought we knew about them." Captain Mercer agreed. "But we also need to understand their motivations. Why do they do this? And what are the implications for us?" Their investigations took a darker turn when they uncovered records of past encounters with other species. The Xylorans had a history of subtle domination, using their advanced technology to control and manipulate rather than destroy. This revelation shook the crew, forcing them to confront their own ethical boundaries. One evening, while discussing their findings, Captain Mercer and Dr. Rodriguez were approached by Xyloran leader Eliana. "I understand you have questions," she said, her tone calm but firm. "Our way of life is different, but it is necessary for our survival. We mean no harm to you or your people." Captain Mercer chose his words carefully. "We respect your ways, but we need to ensure the safety of our crew and our mission. We can't ignore what we've found." Eliana nodded. "I understand. Perhaps it is time for us to show you everything. Trust is a two-way street, Captain." The following days were filled with intense discussions and revelations. The Xylorans explained their history and philosophy, revealing a deep-seated fear of conflict that drove their actions. The humans, in turn, shared their own stories of survival and resilience, highlighting the stark differences in their approaches to life. Despite the growing understanding, tension remained high. The crew of the Vanguard had to grapple with their own predatory instincts and the ethical implications of their discoveries. The situation was a delicate balance, with trust hanging by a thread. "We're not so different after all," Dr. Rodriguez mused one evening. "We both want to survive, but our methods are worlds apart." Captain Mercer sighed. "Let's hope we can find common ground before it's too late." The missing scouting party was finally found, but their ordeal revealed a disturbing truth. The Xylorans, while outwardly peaceful, had a hidden side characterized by manipulation and control. The scouting party members recounted eerie experiences of being observed and subtly influenced by the Xylorans, reinforcing suspicions about the true nature of this seemingly idyllic society. Captain Mercer called a meeting with his senior staff to discuss the implications of their discoveries. "We need to reassess our approach here," he said. "We thought the Xylorans were peaceful, but it's clear they have methods of control that are deeply unsettling." Lieutenant Hayes, who had always been skeptical of the Xylorans, spoke up. "We can't trust them, Captain. Their whole society is built on deception and control. We need to protect ourselves." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, however, had a different perspective. "We can't just judge them by our standards. Their history and environment have shaped them differently. We need to understand their reasons." As they debated, tensions rose within the crew. Some advocated for immediate withdrawal, fearing for their safety, while others wanted to delve deeper into understanding the Xylorans. Captain Mercer decided to confront the Xylorans directly. "We need to have an honest conversation with their leaders," Mercer said. "If we can understand their true motivations, maybe we can find a way to coexist." The next day, Mercer and Dr. Rodriguez met with Eliana, the Xyloran leader. The meeting was tense, with both sides wary of each other's intentions. "We found your hidden laboratories," Mercer began. "Why do you manipulate other species? What are you afraid of?" Eliana sighed, her iridescent skin dimming slightly. "We have a long history of avoiding conflict. Our world cannot sustain warfare or predation. We have developed methods to ensure peace and stability. It is our way of surviving." Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward. "But by controlling others, aren't you creating a different kind of conflict? One based on fear and domination?" Eliana's eyes softened. "Perhaps. But our intentions are not malicious. We seek harmony, even if our methods seem harsh to you. We believed it was the only way." Back on the Vanguard, the crew was divided. Some felt empathy for the Xylorans, understanding their desperate need to avoid conflict. Others saw them as a threat that needed to be contained. Captain Mercer stood before his crew, a heavy burden on his shoulders. "We have a choice," he said. "We can either find a way to coexist with the Xylorans, despite our differences, or we can prepare for conflict. Both paths are fraught with danger." The situation escalated as both sides prepared for an inevitable clash. The humans fortified their position, while the Xylorans subtly increased their surveillance and control measures. The tension was palpable, with everyone aware that a single misstep could lead to open conflict. "Whatever happens, we need to stay true to our values," Mercer said to his officers. "We are explorers, not conquerors, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." The stage was set for a confrontation, not just between humans and Xylorans, but between two fundamentally different philosophies of survival. The coming days would test the limits of their understanding, resilience, and capacity for coexistence. As tensions reached a boiling point, the Vanguard crew prepared for the worst. Captain Mercer and his team fortified their position, aware that the Xyloran's subtle control could turn into open hostility. The ship was on high alert, with every crew member ready for a potential confrontation. The Xylorans, sensing the shift in human behavior, increased their surveillance. Eliana reached out to Captain Mercer one last time, hoping to find a peaceful resolution. "Captain, this path leads to destruction for both of us. We must find a way to coexist." Mercer nodded, though his expression remained guarded. "We want peace, Eliana, but we cannot ignore what we've discovered. Your methods of control and manipulation cannot be the foundation of our relationship." The two sides convened a tense meeting in a neutral location. The air was thick with unease as humans and Xylorans faced each other, representatives of two vastly different approaches to survival. Dr. Rodriguez spoke first. "We understand your desire to avoid conflict, but control through manipulation is not true peace. It's a fragile truce maintained by fear." Eliana looked around at her fellow Xylorans before responding. "We have never known another way. Our history is one of avoiding bloodshed at all costs. But perhaps it is time for us to learn from you, to understand how you managed to survive despite your differences." Lieutenant Hayes interjected. "It's not easy. We've fought wars, faced extinction, but we've also learned to cooperate, to find common ground. It's our resilience that defines us." The conversation was interrupted by an alert from the Vanguard. A small Xyloran faction, fearing human aggression, had taken matters into their own hands and launched a preemptive strike on the humans' temporary base. "All units prepare for defense!" Captain Mercer shouted into his communicator. The ensuing battle was intense. The humans, with their military training and combat instincts, clashed with the Xylorans' advanced technology and strategic cunning. Energy blasts and defensive shields lit up the battlefield as both sides fought fiercely. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Rodriguez found herself face-to-face with a Xyloran scientist she had befriended. "We don't have to do this," she pleaded. "We can find another way." The Xyloran hesitated, lowering their weapon. "Perhaps you are right. This cycle of fear and control must end." The turning point came when Captain Mercer and Eliana, both weary from the fight, confronted each other. "This is not what either of us wanted," Mercer said, his voice strained. "We need to stop before it's too late." Eliana, equally exhausted, nodded. "Agreed. We must find a path to true peace." The leaders called for a ceasefire, and slowly, the fighting stopped. Both sides retreated, nursing their wounds and reflecting on the cost of their actions. In the days that followed, intense negotiations took place. The humans and Xylorans worked together to dismantle the systems of control and build a new foundation based on mutual respect and understanding. It was a difficult process, fraught with setbacks and mistrust, but gradually, they made progress. Captain Mercer addressed his crew. "We came here as explorers, and we leave as partners. This experience has shown us that survival is about more than just strength. It's about finding common ground and building a future together." Dr. Rodriguez smiled. "Maybe we're not so different after all. We both have much to learn from each other." As the Vanguard prepared to depart, Eliana and Captain Mercer stood side by side, a symbol of the fragile but hopeful alliance they had forged. The journey ahead would be challenging, but for now they had taken the first steps toward a shared future.